Hello everybody, my name is Andrew from Stock Money Lizards. Today we're going to have a look at support and resistance lines and try to understand exactly what they are. The reason why I chose to start with support and resistance lines today is because moving forward, it's important that everyone who follows this page has an understanding of a very basic concept, being the support and resistance lines and how they will relate to price fluctuations in the future and forecasting. After that, we'll be talking about the Bitcoin price, we'll be diving into the S&P, and then we'll have a look at some altcoins to see how they are performing. Cool, so let's jump right into it. So, what are you looking at the moment? If you look at the build up, you can see that you have, it's not shown here, but you have price on the y-axis, you have time on the x-axis. So as time is moving forward, price is fluctuating up or down. Now when price fluctuates up or down, what tends to happen is you identify points of reference, and those points of reference can be analyzed and seen as support or seen as resistance. If you look at this chart over here, it's a very simple chart, but it's a relative chart to the Bitcoin price at the moment. Price rallies, it finds a high, it consolidates to find a low, it then pushes back up and seems to find weakness back at the previous high. So we draw a simple resistance line to identify this trend area. And what we notice is that when price goes back down, it finds that same support as it did prior. So this is one chart, very simple chart, but it's one chart. Another chart that builds on the previous one is this. So we have the breakout, we have a low, we have a high. Now we've potentially identified our resistance line and our support line. Price retracing back down to the support line, building up some energy, pushing up back to the resistance line, being rejected once again, finding support for the third time. So you have 1, 2, and 3. And then what normally happens is it will either break out or it will come back down. So what happened in this particular situation is, once again, you have price versus time. As time moves on, price is always changing. It's never stagnant. So what happens is you get a breakout. Now, normally what happens is you enter price discovery mode. Now, price discovery mode can be identified, or you can try to estimate where the new high is going to be using Fibonacci levels, which we'll discuss gradually as we move along these educational and updating videos. But what happens is, forget Fibonacci for now. We got a breakout from our resistance line, we broke out, we made a high, and we repeated the same pattern and we came back down. But now the flip end is that our previous resistance line is now our support line. And this is an important distinction to make. Why? Because whilst price can go back down to this level, and that involves closing gaps, at least in my trading strategy, I see a gap over here between these 2 points. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to break support and come down straight away. What normally could happen is, in this case, you find resistance, support, which is the previous resistance over here. You go back up, meet resistance again, that's fine. Back down, support. You start creating a W pattern. W patterns are quite bullish. And what happened is you hit the resistance line, which is slightly higher than this in this case. You came back down. Now we don't have the extension of this chart, but what could possibly happen is you consolidate in this area to break out to new highs. So I'd like to now, with this knowledge of resistance and support, just, no thank you, just go through the coin market cap. I haven't gone through this in quite a while. So today we're going to be talking about the Bitcoin price, the Ethereum price, XRP, we're going to have a look at Cardano, and we're going to have a look at Solana. I believe those are the ones I've chosen for today. If you do have any coins you would like me to look at, please join our Discord channel. We're constantly giving signals, so please have a look at our Discord channel. We have some really interesting signals that we provide to our viewers. Not to mention, it's a really fun and happy environment in the Stock Money Lizards Discord channel. However, if you do have any altcoins that you wish us to review, you can just drop them in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Okay, cool. So before that, I just want to explain what happened, apparently what happened for the Bitcoin pump that we just experienced. Now, essentially what is being reported is that 100,000 Bitcoin at a price of 19k USD was bought up by Binance. So if Binance started this bull run, I had to sit with this knowledge and I had to try and think, is this a good thing or is this a bad thing? In my opinion, I'm neutral. I don't think it's a bad thing. I don't think it's an amazing thing, mostly because Binance, the central entity, must have bought it up, and like they bought it up, I'm pretty sure when they feel like they want to dump it, they could dump it. However, it was the first major move of the market, so let's be grateful for Binance. Cool. So this is a bit of update on that. I'm curious to get also your opinions on whether you think Binance buying the dip is something great or something okay or something, I don't know, fishy, or maybe it's just my mind. Cool. So let's jump into the Bitcoin chart. So as you know, we've been trending down and down and down. We've now broken, I'm going to get rid of this. We now have broken above the 20-week moving average. You're looking at the weekly time period over here. Each candle is a week. And on the TD sequential, we are on a 3, above a 2, above a 1. That is basically saying momentum is building. And what normally happens is momentum moves in cycles of 9. So I personally, because I have been trading and following the Tom DeMark indicator for quite some time, I'm confident that we might have 6 more weeks of upside to go before we hit some form of weekly momentum exhaustion. Now, I've drawn this trend line over here. Why? Because I see this particular resistance line interesting at a price of circa 24,000 USD. So one major point of interest was definitely this level here at about 18,000 USD, and the reason why it was there was because it met the moving average. Now, for Bitcoin to prove that it wants to go up, it has to pass certain price levels. I'm sure we can all agree on this. Now, that first price level is this 24,000. It needs to break above the resistance line so that it can discover where it wants to go. You know, it can say, okay, I want to go up now. Why? Because it's broken resistance and it's in now price discovery mode. However, we know that at the back of our minds, we always have information that we can work with. So if I just identify that this is a point of interest, this was previous support. Why? Because we got a bounce. And we got a bounce, and then we cracked support over here, and now it's a resistance line. And now it went down. And so for me, what I think is likely to happen is, because the Tom DeMark is telling me we have some more upside to go, because my previous support line is now resistance. What I believe could happen if we break above this level is meet this line in the sand, and that's 30,000. So if we break above 24,000 USD and we hold, it's super important you hold. And by holding, I mean you go up and the candle closes above your resistance line. Then what could happen is we could make a rally to 2930K. If we do make a rally to 2930K and this is a strong resistance line, we could come back down and find support at this level. If we do break above this level, then for me the next line in the sand is 36K USD. So this is just what I think about the Bitcoin price. Honestly, it can do what it wants. We all know it can do what it wants. However, it's good to go into a bit of forecasting and a bit of identifying a bit of spot prices of interest to us. So definitely a spot price of interest to us, if we get above 24K, is definitely 2930K. I would say 29 because 29 is more of a psychological number to sell. And if we do get above 2930K, I would say 36 to 34K is where we might see then a pullback back down to prices of 24K. And what we could do is possibly in the 1 to 2 months range, hit a high, come back down, and sort of start doing something like that. So this is just my opinion on what I think the BTC price is doing at the moment from more of a zoomed out point of reference. Now, I'm just going to zoom in on the hourly chart on the Tom DeMark indicator, on the Bitcoin price. The reason why I'm choosing this is because, as you can see, it's very similar to the chart I showed earlier, which is, which is this one. So we broke above and we're just hanging around in this area, not really knowing where we're going here. So we seem to have broken out, nice pump, got up to 23.3.2K, something like that. We had a high, we retraced back, we found a low, had a high, slightly lower than the previous, doesn't really matter. We made a low, weak bounce, but we found support straight away, and off this weak bounce we had a nice rally. Now I don't personally like when you get massive rallies like this and they retrace back. I think it's annoying and it's a bit misleading when you get such a nice pump like this but it doesn't hold. And this is my point about price needing to hold. If it doesn't hold, you end up going back down quite fast. So anyways, we can ignore this anomaly for now, and we can say that we had a touch, we had another touch over here, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, and now we're like, what's gonna happen? Where are we gonna go? So this is where fundamentals come into it, and this is where the macro environment comes into it. So I personally believe that the macro environment is improving, so I think we are more likely to break to the upside, and once that breaks to the upside, this becomes support, and this 24K is this area over here, which we identified a few minutes earlier. Okay, so the next chart I want to jump into, allow me to find it. Guys, the S&P is super important that we keep track of. We all know that Bitcoin tends to follow the S&P. However, this time around, it's, in my opinion, front run it a bit. Now, when I look at this chart, I see a resistance line that I've drawn out on this angle here. I'm gonna remove this. This is something else. So I see a resistance line here. And why do I see a resistance line? Because every time price comes along this trend, it seems to be rejected. Every time it hits here, we get a low, we get a bounce, we get a lower low than the previous. Lower lows are signaling bearishness. We found a low in July of 2022 and a nice bounce coincidentally to touch the trend line. And at this point, you have 3 points of reference to draw this line. It's not just a line, it's a good line to draw, you know. So what happened now is the price has gone down, touched 3,489 on the S&P, and now we had a nice break to the upside. So I would expect lower prices if this low was not in line with this level of support. So what happened here is you made a base. Bases are super important, guys. This is a base, and now this is also a base. And this is actually quite a strong pattern to push the price up. So in my experience, seeing a chart pattern like this, we are above the 20-week moving average. That's a good sign. And if you zoom in, we seem to have a candle that is, for the first time in a while, combating the previous highs. And if you just lower this, let's say we put it at the body, we're 2 candles above it, you know. So obviously where you draw your trend line is up to your preference. So there is going to be a degree of difference between how people draw their trend lines. However, the trend is being analyzed in the same way, you know, so that's an important factor to consider. So I at Stock Money, I'm quite bullish. I believe that the S&P for now needs to get itself above this level. And the reason why I believe it needs to get above this level is because of this trend line hit. And then our next target is this. So it breaks out. That's all well and good. Hopefully it will keep on going up to at least this level before maybe retracing back and finding a higher low. And then maybe what will happen is we'll build some resistance over here, but then maybe make a breakout to the upside, and that's all well and good for the S&P and probably for Bitcoin, because Bitcoin tends to perform in relation sort of to how the S&P goes. Cool. So we saw Bitcoin, we saw the S&P. So before we jump into Ethereum, I want to jump into the ETH BTC chart. I believe it's here. No, it's not. This one. Now, if you look at the weekly time frame, first of all, what we see is Tom the mark every time it hits a 9, or very often, let's say that 9 here, 9 at the bottom, you know, it tends to have a reversal pattern on the weekly. So it's a good indicator to at least identify where momentum can exhaust. Now, we've been trending in this area, let me just throw this out. We've been trending in this area, in this pattern for about 2 years, guys. It's been a long time. Now, I was under the impression that the longer we take, the more likely we are to go down. And I'm unsure, but this current move, I would have expected, if we were to break to the upside, Ethereum to strengthen and finally push out of this 2-year chart pattern. Now, we can't say much at the moment. All we know is that, so look at this, 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, 9 on the bottom. So the term the mark indicator is pretty accurate. We'll keep track of this actually, guys, because it's quite accurate. We hit a 9 on the bottom, so we've had 1 week of downside, and we saw that just now. But our line in the sand is this. So I don't know actually what's gonna happen, and I want to remove all these excess lines because they're just noise. So if Ethereum cracks 0.067, almost certain it will go down to 0.59. If the bounce is not significant and it takes us back up to this level, then maybe finally it's going to crack this 0.59 level, and that's going to be its new area of resistance. It did have a fake out. This was when I thought Ethereum was going to crash. I actually made a mistake in this area because I sold a small portion over here thinking it was going to go down, not fully trusting the indicator that I'm talking about today. And if I remember correctly, yep, it timed it perfectly on the 9 to the bottom. So momentum exhausted to the downside, pushed it up for 9 more weeks, and now we're sort of in no man's land. Everyone is just thinking, is Ethereum going to break above, or is Ethereum going to break to the downside again? And sort of this might tie in line with the Bitcoin dominance chart. Now the Bitcoin dominance chart, arguably you can say that if BTC increases versus altcoins, so if it controls now 44% of the total crypto cap market, that's quite high. And its line in the sand is this resistance line over here. So if the Bitcoin dominance chart, and we discussed this in the previous videos, so I suggest that you have a look at those videos because we go into detail about what Bitcoin dominance is. If Bitcoin makes a break and finds resistance at this level and comes down, then I can see Ethereum versus Bitcoin chart moving higher. If Bitcoin breaks and cracks this level and goes into self-discovery mode and takes 57% of the market, Ethereum, in my opinion, will go down versus Bitcoin. Cool. Okay, so that's just the Ethereum Bitcoin chart. Ethereum on the dollar range is okay. Again, this is our resistance line. This is our support line. For me, for anything interesting, it needs to break above this level, sort of like Bitcoin does. Needs to break. It needs to either consolidate in this area and move up, and if it does move up, the next level is $2,000, and if it breaks $2,000, I would say somewhere along these $2,400 range. So that's Ethereum. Cardano's line in the sand is this high over here. I would say this level over here, which is in line with this area. So these are all levels of support. So price can fall down, find support, and go back up. Or if it's not that strong, I would say anywhere over here. So guys, this box, this range over here, if you are a Cardano supporter, is a good place to potentially layer in. This is Cardano versus Bitcoin, by the way, but this is a good area to potentially sell some Bitcoin for Cardano, and it adds weight to why Bitcoin dominance should go up, because to me this chart looks like it still wants to come down. Cardano USD, let's have a look at this. You're looking now at the weekly. I'm going to remove the Tom the Mark indicator. So I mean, chart like this, guys, is really standard. So you go up, you make a high, you come down almost at breakout levels, you make a high, or you try and make a bounce. This is a bounce. You didn't actually come back down to this level over here because that's the breakout, but price has retraced back to that level, remained at this area for how long? 2018 till 2020, 2 years, and then sort of it woke up and it went on the rally that it did. Could we be experiencing with Cardano something similar to this pump, where we might see a pump maybe up to this high over here at 58 cents, and then sort of a run down like similar to what we saw before, just to meet this level over here of 15 cents. Like, I personally believe if Cardano comes back down to this level of 18 cents, let's call it 18 cents, that's a great buy, because 18 cents, how much more can it fall? I mean, yes, anything can fall, but still, you know, if it goes down 18 cents, just don't buy everything on that 18 cents, and maybe save a little to dollar cost averaging at 11 cents. So these are the two areas I would say are of interest to me. Remember, guys, I can be totally wrong. I don't actually follow these coins. I'm just giving you some chart interpretation as to what I think. These are the prices of interest to me. Remember, when price is low, risk is in your favor. When price is high, risk is not in your favor. You want to position yourself when the risk is in your favor. So that's ADA USD, and we'll leave those there to keep track of it. Market dominance, we had a look. Yeah, I got Litecoin on the picture. We were following it in the Discord channel. It's now at 81. It's not doing badly. It's doing quite well. And we had discussions about how maybe it was front running Bitcoin. But yeah, I think Litecoin is looking good. Then we have XRP. Okay, so I'm just gonna remove the indicator to clean it up for you guys. So XRP is a classic case of pump retracement back down to previous highs of where the breakout was. Like Cardano, we sort of accumulated in this area, made another run up, came back down, made another run up, lower high, came back down, and now sort of we have made a trend coming down to this level. And this is not bad, guys. So you break out of that trend, which you've been in since April of 2021. It's absolutely fine to come back down to this level, because now this is support. In fact, notice how it was really respected. So price broke out, came back down to the level that was previously a resistance line, which is now support. So resistance lines don't necessarily have to be horizontal. They can also be slanting like this. And now we're sort of playing with the 20-week moving average, which it does have to get above from 41 cents. So I would say the target is 48 cents. If it breaks 48 cents, which is this high over here, which will flip to support, then I think the next level for Ripple to prove to me always is it needs to crack and break through previous levels of support, which have now flipped to resistance. So then Ripple is of interest to me, definitely, if it comes above 60 cents. Remember also, guys, that whilst everyone would love to sell the top and buy the low, it's also fine to buy the breakout. Why? Because buying the breakout means that you can park your capital on the side for the downturn, and you don't have capital holding and waiting. You know, let's say you were in this situation here. You know that Ripple has been accumulating for all these like year or two, whatever. You got your low, you got your higher low, you know, you've tried to push out, you've cleared this line of resistance, you've cleared this line of resistance, you've cleared this line of resistance, and now it's looking like it wants to make a push to the upside. You also argue that you had a pattern here forming, which was an upward triangle. I'll get into these upward triangles. They're absolute magic in the charting world. If you take the base of the Triangle, in my opinion, I would have seen this as 159% potential gain. So then what I would have done was, at this level, I would have taken a position. I just don't like Ripple, so I wouldn't have. But I mean, I would have taken a position had I seen this. And I would have drawn 159%, which is circa in this level of 153. As soon as I would have put a spot price purchase over here, I would have gone up to this level, which we saw before, and I would have said, okay, whatever I bought here, I'm selling up here, or I'm selling maybe 60%, 40% of what I bought, but I'm selling it up here. On this pump, I would have sold it, and as soon as I would have sold this, I know that price likes to retrace back to its previous resistance lines. That's exactly what happened. It created support, it pushed back up, and now you can watch it. Because here you got a low, or you could have taken a position again. You could have sold this, got back in here, and used the previous resistance and support lines as areas of entry and exit. If you wanted to sell up here, because basically what did we say before? If it's in a channel, it will probably go up to here. Let's say you did park it there and you didn't sell it because the price never reached up there. It's not the end of the world, because you still made a killer trade over here, which you got out of within what, 2 weeks. You made a killer trade to get back in at the same price you got back in over here, and you more or less 150% x'd your 1.5x your holdings, and now you're just watching. The mistake came if you didn't sell your position at this level when it cracked this base, because now price went down to by about 50%. You know, so one of the mistakes that I've done on my personal journey is that I sometimes get married to my asset. It's important not to get married to your asset, and it's important to take profits when you find them. Now, my level is I'm not interested in Ripple until Ripple shows me signs that it wants to break 58 cents. So that's a bit of Ripple. Solana. And this will be the final coin, guys, before we end this video today. I mean, again, I'm not a huge fan of Solana. I have done all my hours on Bitcoin, and I still do them because Bitcoin is beautiful. I don't really understand what Solana is, and one of the important realizations in investing is that always invest in what you truly understand. And I don't really understand Solana, so this is just my opinion. Solana broke and had a nice, amazing pump from, I mean, $20, $30 to $230. Again, psychological number. We cracked the moving average straight away. We found resistance at the moving average. We went back to make a new low, and now we're a bit in no man's land. When I see a candle like this, sometimes this is a really strong candle. I can't remember the name of this candle, like a hammer, exactly. Hammers are really good candles to have, but this one is a red hammer, you know, and like, look, it's similar to this one. And what happened was we did get some price reduction. The only difference here was that when we got this candle, we were above the 20-week moving average. We're now below the 20-week moving average. So probably what might happen is the opposite of this. So we get more downside. And that downside to me could come, honestly, anywhere between $20. I could be totally wrong, guys, by the way. I don't follow the fundamentals on Solana. I really don't follow the fundamentals on Solana. I'm just talking to you about areas of interest to me. And these are them. So I would potentially take a piece at 890 USD, or take a piece, a very small one, at $21. I wouldn't actually take a piece at $21. This is my actually, if it cracks 21, which I think it will, because what normally happens is you retrace back the entire length of the candle. So that's what I think will happen. So yeah, this is a Solana. There's not much to talk about Solana, but again, guys, we'll keep track of this and we'll take it from there. Other than that, this has been my 4th video update. My name is Andrew Kamsky from Stock Money Lizards, and I hope you have a great day. If you have any questions, please tell us in the comments. Also, please join our Discord channel. It's really fun and we talk about loads of stuff. Peace out, guys.